Hey everyone, so it's a Wednesday. Just to let you know, the first test, it's not going to be, I think in the syllabus it says it's supposed to be Monday of next week. I don't think that's going to happen. What I'm leaning towards is closer to the end of the week. So that's what I figured I'd do. Also, the homework and the quiz, I extended their deadlines by a day. So basically, instead of the 17th and the 18th, they will be due on the 18th and the 19th of this week. I just figured yesterday I wasn't able to hold office hours, and I just felt like it wasn't fair to have people hand stuff in today. So I figured, you know what? Let me just extend it by another day. I figured that'd be fair. Okay. Again, I'll let everyone know about the exam. What I'm thinking that might happen is the worst case is I make it available on Friday. If I do that, I might give another homework that will be due probably on Thursday or something. I mean, I'll keep everyone in the loop. Don't worry. I was going to say, it will be based on everything we've done from the beginning of the semester up until what I cover this week. Okay. So whatever I do next week, it will not be based on. I don't think that's fair if I did that. So any questions at all? Okay, well, let's start lecturing. So I did email everyone the notes, and I did have a worksheet I figured you guys would work on as well. So anyway, let me start doing that. Let me stop my camera. Here we go. All right, let me get to the work. Let me get to this. All right. Here it comes. Boop. There it is. Okay, not yet. It's coming. Oh, here it is. All right, good. So again, this is the worksheet. This is just a reminder of the method that we're doing called the AC method. Here, remember, basically we already know how to factor this. But the question is, how do we factor this here, which is more general? I mean, here the capital A, so to say, had to be, the leading coefficient, had to be 1. Here, it's not 1. It doesn't have, I mean, it could be 1, but it doesn't have to be. Although if it's 1, you probably don't want to use the AC method because that's a lot more work than necessary for the case when A is 1. But when A is not 1, this is the method we use. I went over this last time, so I'm just reminding you what it is. It's based on factor by grouping. I mean, there are other techniques that one can use. And, if you want to use one of those techniques, as long as you show your work so that I understand what you're doing, that's fine. Okay. I mean, I know factoring in general is not easy. Believe me, I completely understand that. So, people generally, I'm sure I did also when I was younger, have trouble factoring. It's not an easy process. So just remember so here as a reminder, we want to find the GCF, then factor it out. That's the first thing you always do. I mean, you kind of saw why you would want to do that last time. It makes the polynomial here a little bit easier to work with. I mean, it can, that is. Okay. Then, you multiply A and C together. You find two integers whose product is A times C. And the sum has to be B. B is the coefficient of X. You replace B by the sum of those two integers, and then you apply the process that we all love, factor by grouping. All right, let's do an example, then I'll hand you guys then you'll do a worksheet. So let's say we want to factor this thing. Okay, well, let's get the GCF first. Now, there is a non-zero constant term, right? Now, what does that tell us? Well, that tells us M must be 0, right? M must be 0. In other words, you can't factor out x at all. Let's look at these coefficients though. We have 16, right? 34 and 18. I know technically the coefficient's negative 34, but when you're looking at factors, the negative you can disregard. Namely, a number and its negative have the same factors. 16 now, right? The factors of that, we have 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. For 34, we have 1, 2, 17, and 34. How did I know to get 17? I basically took the 34 divided by 2, and that's how I got 17. Okay. I think coming into class, it's safe for me to assume that everyone knows how to get factors of integers. If you have trouble doing that, though, please contact me. I won't be upset. I want to make sure everyone learns this. That's my goal. 18, we have these factors as well. Okay, so what's the greatest common factor among the coefficients and the constant term? 2. Okay. So basically our b is 2. You could take m to be, we take m to be 0. So 2 times x to the 0, which is just 2. I mean, x to the 0 as 1 is not that precise, but for now, I guess it's okay. Either way, the GCF is 2. So what do? Factor it out. So we get 16x squared minus 34 times x plus 18, factor out 2. You put it in front, you divide by 2, right? Because you have to see what's left over. That's how you divide. So we get 2 times 16x squared over 2 minus 34x over 2 plus 18 over 2, right? We divide into each term. And so what happens? Well, 16 over 2 is 8. So we get 8x squared. 34 over 2 is 17. So we have 17x, well, minus 17x. 18 over 2 is 9. So from here, we can see that we have to factor this polynomial. Now, this is easier to factor. I mean, it looks easier, right? I mean, this isn't too terrible. We could just dive right into the AC method, so to say. That is, we could skip step 1 if we wanted to. These numbers, though, are going to be kind of not nasty, I guess, but they're going to be tricky. You would have to do 18 times 16. Then you would need 2 factors that add up to 34. I mean, I personally would rather use this. So, it looks less intimidating, so to say. Okay. All right. Anyway, so we got to factor this thing. Now, how do we do that? Well, we get the wonderful pen thing here. Again, we need 2 numbers whose product is 8 times 9. So we get 8 times 9 first. That's 72. Okay. And now we need 2 numbers whose product is 72. The sum, though, is negative 17. 2 numbers, right, whose product is 72, and the sum is minus 17. Well, how do we do that? Well, are 8 and 9 going to work? Well, their product is 72, but is their sum negative 17? No. 8 and 9 are out. Okay. Well, what about minus 8 and minus 9? Well, in that case, we have minus 8 times minus 9. That's 72. Okay. Minus 8 plus minus 9, negative 8 plus negative 9, excuse me, we get negative 17 right here. So -8 and -9 are going to work. Again, their product is 72. Their difference is -17. Beautiful. All right, that's great. What's the next step? We have to replace -17 with -8 minus 9, right? -17, that's the coefficient of x here. So that's what we're doing here. -17 times x, I replace it with -8 minus 9 times x. And now here, the red pen is already here. The red ink, that is, or whatever you call it. We distribute x to get this, as you can see. So this tells us -17x is equal to this. Hence, this polynomial, right, is going to be equal to 8x squared minus 8x minus 9x plus 9.